Good morning, 7:10. Renewable energy and VNI West is back in the news. Proposed changes to compulsory acquisition of land are being debated in Parliament this week. It could see transmission companies acquire land before an environmental effects statement is complete. The member for Lowan, Emma Kearly, joins me in just a moment. You are on ABC Wimmera and ABC Mildura Swan Hill. It is 7:10. My name is Grace Marshall. So as you just heard, the Allen Labor government this week has introduced amendments through Parliament that could see transmission companies compulsorily acquire private land for transmission line easements before environmental assessments are completed. Previously, compulsory land acquisition could only happen after the EES process. Emma Kearly is the member for Lowan. Good morning, Emma.
Good morning, Grace.
Could you just explain for our listeners what these changes actually mean and what they mean for those who would be affected by these transmission lines?
Through what's actually happened with this legislation, Grace, because this hasn't followed the normal process. We've debated this in the Legislative Assembly already, this legislation. It's an amendment that the government brought through 2 weeks ago. And now we were set to debate this amendment today in the upper house, and yet at the last minute, the day before, the government have brought in this amendment to their own bill, which would, as you say, bring forward compulsory acquisition. So rather than using as a last step of completing these projects, it's being brought well forward in front of the EES process. In fact, it's a bypass around the EES. It's really concerning for landholders who have been, fighting so hard to have their voice heard. There's a level of frustration in the community that just Labor's not listening to them, that they haven't gone through the appropriate consultation process, that they haven't even tried to listen and to meet some of the concerns that farmers have through that tranche of land from Bulgana around Stawell right up to the New South Wales border. And I think this is just another step towards incredible frustration, anger from farmers, and just the way that Labor have done this. It's so sneaky. There's been no consultation amongst the wider community. They're putting the environment last. They're not putting agriculture first. Agriculture's last as well. And certainly the voices of the community have been written off by Labor as well.
It's not just VNI West, is it, though? It's all transmission companies?
No, this is right, Grace. The amendment, it looks like it's been drafted exceptionally quickly. So we only saw the wording of the amendment for the first time yesterday morning. The way that the amendment has been drafted, it refers to obtaining easements for power lines. Now, this could be either transmission lines or distribution lines. Now, that's a lot of potential easements that the government could just snap up through compulsory acquisition very, very early on in the process, certainly well before other mechanisms have occurred, including the environmental effects statement. It's such an open door that it just raises a lot of red flags for the Nationals and for the Liberals, and we will be opposing the amendment for that reason.
Do you think Labor has the numbers to have this pass this week?
I suspect that they do, but that doesn't mean that it's okay, and it doesn't mean that the Nationals won't be taking up the fight. I'm just concerned that we've got legislation which will open the door for any government in the future to buy up an easement which might potentially be used for a power line in the future. And this is the second concern about the legislation. It's not that it will be used for a power line. The threshold is that it may be used for a power line in the future. So that just opens the door to anywhere in Victoria being allowed to have a power line. You don't even need a threshold of having a project approved. You don't have a threshold of even a line on a map on where they think that a project might go. There doesn't even need to be a business case. There doesn't need to be anything. It's just like, oh yeah, we might build a power line there in the future. We can obtain an easement. It is far too low a threshold. There are no safeguards in there. There is no addition of any opportunity for landholders to have their say or for communities to have their say. And it's just another example of Labor rushing through legislation with no notice for the community to provide feedback, no notice for other parties and crossbenchers in the Legislative Council or in the Assembly to have their say, and it's just set people on fire right across the state yet again. Labor have so badly managed these energy projects that it's really difficult to watch and very, very frustrating, and I understand why landholders are so angry.
Do you think it's in reaction to the delays that are caused by landholders that are protesting these transmission lines and VicGrid and not allowing these voluntary environmental effect statements to be carried out? Do you think it's in reaction to that?
I think that it's probably a step before that. Let's look at what the government have done to elicit that anger. I mean, I've seen it. Community hall meetings where people have had bouncers, people have been hauled out of the events where people are trying to find out information. There's a refusal to have a one-on-one meeting with a group. They'll only meet one-on-one, but then VicGrid will bring on 10 people to a one-on-one meeting. There hasn't been a level of respect or fairness or intent to listen to concerns or an intent to resolve some of those concerns, even when it's around things that may not be about agriculture. It may be about the environment. There's some really important habitat through the land where VNI West is proposed to go, which has got, endangered wildlife and endangered species in there. And Labor still won't listen to that. So there's a real sense amongst the community that Labor haven't managed this well. There hasn't been transparency. There hasn't been an appropriate level of consultation. And that's why there's been protests. So I think it's just Labor just trying another step towards not recognising they've really stuffed this project up. They have stuffed up the consultation completely and just taking another piece of legislation to punish farmers, to punish landholders, to take away their opportunity to have their say seems to be how Labor operate. They've taken away the right for farmers to say, no, you can't come on my property because there's a biohazard risk. That's dangerous. That's not fair. They've threatened huge fines for farmers and businesses that say no to people coming on site at any time. Now we're seeing even that need for an EES taken away. It's putting the environment at risk. Labor just need to go back to the drawing board, which is why I've been saying we need to halt VNI West, review the entire transmission plan and just work out how much is this going to cost, what's the best way to go about it, how much money is going to end up being put on the power bill of every single Victorian household and business, because we all pay for it. This is a $20 billion project, Grace. This is a massive project. The price is doubling every 3 years. We're going to see power bills go through the roof if this goes ahead, and that's why I believe that the VNI West project should be immediately halted, the government go back to the drawing board, review Victoria's transmission plans, and further, the Nationals will give back the farmers' voice in all of these processes.
You're hearing this morning from the member for Lowan, Emma Kearly. We are talking about introduced amendments through Parliament this week that could see transmission companies compulsory acquire private land easements before environmental assessments are completed. Emma, if passed, what protections do landholders have, or what avenues can they go down if they are opposing? Are we still just going to see these blocking of farms that we've seen previously?
That's what I'm hearing. Speaking to some landholders yesterday, the intent certainly is, well, we're not going to let them on our land. We're just not going to let them on. I just feel like the more that Labor are aggressive in trying to legislate access to private land, the more that our landholders are going to push back, because it's a simple thing that they just haven't been heard. No one's bothered to listen to what their concerns are. And that's it doesn't matter what that Labor do legislatively, it's not going to change the anger on the ground. And in fact, I think it'll just inflame the situation. It'll cause more angst. It's going to cause more division. It will cause an enormous amount of stress on the ground. And I can't see that the protests and blockades that we've seen which have been escalating over the past years, I can't see that dissipating by another cruel blow by Labor to take away the voice of farmers.